February 11, 2026 Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting is now convened. Hannah, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Alvarez,
Here.
Commissioner Stoudemeyer Wesley, Commissioner Higgins, Chair Cruz.
Here, thank you. All right, I have a brief notice to read. As required by state law, Prosper Portland has provided an opportunity for the public to access and attend this meeting in person. There's also a YouTube live stream video of the meeting, and the public's had the opportunity to arrange in advance to provide virtual testimony. The public may provide written testimony to the commission by emailing prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. Again, prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. All right, item 2, does anyone have anything they'd like to report for the commissioners' reports? Okay, then, we'll just go straight to the executive director report.
Thank you,
Cornell
Chair
Wesley.
Cruz. Well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Cornell Wesley, proudly serve as the Executive Director for Prosper Portland. On last Friday, I spoke at the Portland Metro Chamber annual event. I might add, I was also accompanied by my great teammate, Amanda Park. This was a great event and a good opportunity to share some details on the vision of our work with leaders from throughout the Portland metro area. Reaching the goals we have for Portland requires all our public, private, and nonprofit partners, and it was gratifying to hear how much alignment there is in the need to focus energy and resources on the city. So thank you to Andrew and the PMC team for the invitation to speak, and I look forward to collaborating with a full array of partners this year. On Saturday, Prosper Portland staff, along with ERCO and the White Lotus Foundation, presented the first ever Gateway Night Market event. The night market was an opportunity for neighbors, friends, and families to gather for a tented outdoor night market celebrating local businesses and cultural expression. The event featured local food vendors, performances, and music. Mayor Wilson, Councilor President Dumphy, Councilor Avalos, and our very own Amy Nagy attended and spoke at the event. The market is part of a larger, more comprehensive effort to highlight, celebrate, and bring together the Gateway community. Naturally, our team has been and will continue to be central to this critical work. Once again, I want to thank Amanda Park, Michelle Comer, Lisa Norwood, Lisa Abwaf, Yume Delegato, Mitch Doherty, and Joel Devilcourt for all of their work to make this great event happen under a very tight timeline, might I add. I'm excited to say we're right in the middle of the Portland Winter Light Festival and Portland Staycation Winter Edition. For the first time, Portland Staycation is partnering with the Portland Winter Light Festival, transforming the first 2 weekends in February into a radiant celebration of art, light, food, and discovery. With more than 200 light installations to experience and hundreds of participating local businesses to visit and support, there is something for everyone to enjoy. I personally will be out there this coming Friday, and I invite everyone to come out and explore all the amazing art and support local businesses. For more information on the Portland Winter Light Festival, please visit pdxwlf.com. And for more info on the staycation, please visit portlandstaycation.com. Finally, I want to recognize the leadership, once again, this is a common theme, of our very own Amanda Park on this effort, along with Michelle Comer, Lisa Norwood, Yume Delegato, Andrew Fitzpatrick, and the Office of Small Business team. I'm also pleased to announce the Office of Events and Film at Prosper Portland is accepting applications for the Uniquely Portland Event Grant. The new grant is designed to support local events that showcase Portland's vibrant communities while bringing people together in the heart of our central city and neighborhood business districts. Awards will range from $500 to $7,500 to support community-driven events and placemaking activities that communicate vibrancy, joy, and uniquely Portland culture to broader audiences. The grant application window closes May 16th at 5 p.m. Again, the grant application window closes May 16th at 5 p.m. For all the details, please visit portlandeventsandfilm.com and click on the Grants tab. The Horizon Enterprise Building officially opened last week. located at Northwest 4th and Gleason, right here.
Recording in progress.
The Horizon Enterprise Building is a creative center featuring a gallery space on the main floor and a bar and social club in the basement. Sounds like fun. Cornell might go. I am pleased to note Prosper Portland has supported this project from the earliest stages. We provided a loan, a PIP grant, and a Reimagine Oregon grant. This is a welcome addition to Old Town. So congratulations to the team involved, and kudos to all the Prosper Portland staff members who worked on this project. For more information on the Horizon Enterprise Building, you can visit the downbeatbar.com or creativehomies.com. Finally, it is February, and we are celebrating Black History Month. I encourage everyone to get out and support Black-owned small businesses, attend events, and enjoy community. We all know there's a lot happening in the world right now, and local entrepreneurs, artists, nonprofit organizations, and the community at large can all use your support. In addition, I want to mention Prosper Portland's Black Affinity Group, affectionately known as BAG. They put together a list of some of our favorite leisure activities, including books, movies, musics, and poets. I invite everyone to check it out at prosperportland.us/Black History Month and click on the PDF link. Let me repeat that one more time. I invite everyone to check it out at prosperportland.us/Beyond Black History Month and click on the PDF. As always, Black history is American history. Now we have some new employee announcements. Prosper Portland is pleased to welcome one recent re-addition to our staff. Crystal Finley is returning to Prosper Portland. Crystal was a loan officer here from June 2022 to August 2024. She is back and will serve as the business development officer for the lending team. Crystal is an experienced professional in banking and finance with expertise in business development, loan analysis, and relationship management. She is dedicated towards crafting financial solutions that support underserved communities and small businesses. Crystal holds leadership roles as past president of the Risk Management Association, Portland Metro Chapter, treasurer at the Native American Youth and Family Center, and board member at Confluence. Her focus on collaboration and strategic planning has helped promote engagement, education, programming, and community involvement. Driven by her passion for service, Crystal aims to positively impact the lives of those she serves. Outside of her personal life, Crystal enjoys exploring the outdoors, frequently visiting local trails and parks. She has a goal to visit all the national parks one day. She actively participates in community events and cultural celebrations and is dedicated to continuous learning and personal growth. Crystal, would you please stand so we can acknowledge you? Welcome back, Crystal. Thank you very much. Chair Cruz, this concludes the Executive Director's report.
Thank you so much. Great report. And welcome back, Crystal. All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 14th? So move. Thank you.
I so second.
Thank you so much. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes to approve. All right, do you have? Got it. Do you have anyone lined up for public comment? Okay. Great. Okay. All right. As I mentioned earlier, the public can provide public comment to the commission by emailing prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. So our first action item today requires action by the local contract review board. So we're going to recess our Prosper Portland meeting and reconvene as Prosper Portland Local Contract Review Board. All right. So that meeting is now underway. I call to order the Local Contract Review Board. So I'm sorry. Here. Us. So this is item number 6, and it's an action item adopting findings in support of and exempting the 910 MLK Building Food Hall Public Improvement Project on property located at 910 Northeast Martin Luther King Boulevard from the low bid selection process. And Will Thier, Real Estate Manager, and Wendy Wilcox, Construction and Compliance Project Manager, will testify. Thank you. Welcome. What's that? I'm sorry.
Allow staff to issue a competitive request for proposals for construction manager and general contractor services, or CMGC, building food hall project. And so why a CMGC? Well, a CMGC allows for the contractor to come on board a little earlier in about 50% design review phase. It's a very popular method among owners and contractors. Prosper has used CMGCs several times successfully in the past. Most recent example of that is the demolition of the post office building. By employing this method, we were able to deliver a very complex $30 million demo on time and under budget. In a debrief with the project team, the CMGC contracting method was brought up several times as one of the keys to that success. Through our work in the community, contractors have told us this is a preferred method, as through the RFP, they feel they can be more fairly evaluated, the project pricing is more accurate, and they have time to gather the best team by being involved from design. New slide. Last month, we brought you information on the 910 building project. To remind you, the building is located on MLK across from the convention center. This project reimagines the building as a food hall, music, and event space that will further activate the Lloyd District and complement and support the convention center. The project scope includes major renovation of the west building, demolition of major elements on the east side, retaining only essential structural framework, construction of operational infrastructure to support the food carts, and the estimated construction cost at this time is $6 million. New
Excuse me for
slide.
just a moment. You may be able to see the slides on your computer, but we're not getting them. Oh, there we are now. We
Oh,
didn't-
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's what I was holding for in the beginning.
Yeah, we didn't get the first couple there, so.
Okay, you want to go back?
Sure.
Here we are. There we are. We're approving the low bid solicitation. Next slide here is the project itself. And then here we are to the project scope. You can see on the west side of the building, that's going to be a major renovation. And we're demolishing on the east side most of the building except for the rooftop area and structural elements that are holding that to make way for the food cart pod. And and like I said, the estimated construction costs are $6 million. Okay, and the exemption process. The board may exempt certain public improvement contracts from a competitive low bid process by approving findings submitted by Prosper Portland as the contracting agency. The findings are required to show that exemption is unlikely to encourage favoritism or diminish competition. Also to show that the exemption has the potential to produce additional financial benefit. So for our findings, we will be putting out an RFP All qualified GCs are welcome to propose. The proposers are evaluated by a panel on a set of best value criteria, and this method will encourage competition and diminish favoritism. The second, findings of cost saving and substantial benefits using the CMGC delivery method will provide time saving by allowing for early work, ordering of long lead materials, and consideration of schedule impacts when making design decisions. Meeting the project schedule of opening in summer 2027 will also maximize project revenues. Value engineering services and other input provided by the CMGC during the design phase are expected to contribute to cost savings by optimizing design decisions, scheduling, and material selection with cost-saving strategies. Change order reduction, that's a big one. Alterations to an existing building has an inherent risk of unforeseen conditions that ultimately lead to change orders. A CMGC brought on board during design or pre-construction can assist the project team with selective demolition to better understand the existing conditions and inform the design process, scheduling, and cost estimating, leading to fewer change orders and therefore substantial cost savings. Last but not least, utilizing the CMGC delivery method will increase confidence with our partners that are providing funding and other support that the project will be completed according to the anticipated timeframe and budget. And staff held a public hearing on January 21st to receive comments on the finding reports as required by ORS and LCRB, and no comments were received. And here we are, the timeline, if approved today, we will move forward with putting the RFP out, get a contractor on board through a pre-construction contract sometime in April or May, and then we'll be coming back to the board with a CMGC contract for your approval. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
No questions? No, I think we're all good. So, thank you. Okay, then. Someone like to make a motion to approve resolution number 7636 regarding adopting the findings.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 7636.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we will go ahead and adjourn the local contract review board, and we'll reconvene the Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting. Okay. Next up, we have item 7. This is an action item approving the terms of a commercial property loan to Palindrome 92H LLC in an amount not to exceed $10,800,000 for redevelopment of real property located at 5640 Southeast 92nd Avenue in the Lentz Town Center Tax Increment Financing District. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley. My name is Kay Little. I'm the Investment Manager here at Prosper Portland, and I'm joined up here by Brian Moore, a Development Manager of the D&I team. Brian is going to kick off the discussion today with some background information regarding the project as we ask the board to adopt this resolution to approve this commercial loan. He'll provide background regarding the project and its alignment with the Lentz Town Center District Action Plan in Advanced Portland. He'll also share some context regarding Phase 1 and Phase 2A in the Lentz Town Center and its implementation in the district, and then I'll provide information about the loan. And so I will hand it over to Brian.
Right. Good afternoon, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley. The strategic alignment of this particular project with our Advance Portland mission really comes in on the three outcomes from Section 3, so 3.5, 3.6, and 3.8, supporting growth and the health of businesses within the commercial corridors and districts, attracting new commercial development, and addressing housing production across a continuum of affordability. And this is fundamental to the TIF district work that we're doing across the city and in Lentz in particular. In order to do that TIF district work, we have action plans in place for the majority of our TIF districts. Lentz is included in that. There was a 2014 action plan put in place for the Lentz TIF district that identified focusing on the neighborhood centers, on the industrial and open space within the district, affordable housing, and the commercial corridors. This particular project is part of the neighborhood centers element, really focusing on the Lentz Town Center. If you're curious as to what the Lentz Town Center looks like, this is an aerial image of the Lentz Town Center. You can see the 205 freeway on the right-hand side, and the diagonal street cutting through the center is Foster Avenue. And the north-south street right in the middle is 92nd. And so this particular project is located at the north end of the Lentz Town Center. And it is the second phase of the overall town center development. The first phase is in the central area and included projects like the Woody Guthrie, developed by Rose CDC, Lentz Commons, developed by us collectively, and then Oliver Station, both the East Project and the West Project was developed by Palindrome Communities and the Asian Health and Service Center. The delivery on those projects in terms of units, housing units, which was a major priority for the community, included 263 total new units in that first phase of all of those projects. The majority of those units are deed-restricted, affordable housing units at 60% or below, and then a significant portion of them were targeted as workforce housing units as well. And that brings us to phase 2 of the project, of the Lentz Town Center project. You can see in the center of the screen, there's the area highlighted in red. That's a commercial project, and that if you're familiar with the Lentz neighborhood, that used to be Zeugel House. It is the brewery that the Palindrome Communities actually operates. It's one of their businesses in the neighborhood. And that has been redeveloped into a food hall and brewery operation that is quite vibrant. I was actually just down there last Thursday for dinner, and it was a 30-minute wait because it's so popular. There's also the plaza area, which is a public space and a public portion of the redevelopment of the commercial site. And it's really interesting what they've done there is it's really an enclosed area now, and they have set up play areas for kids and things like that. So when folks from the neighborhood go there for dinner after work, their kids can go play in the play area while they order their dinner from any number of the food vendors that are set up there. All of the food vendors, or most of the food vendors, are new in food service business, so often it's first-time business owners or startups that are operating in there. Many of them are immigrants or new to this community in one way or another. And so there's a wide variety of food types and personally speaking, some of the best Indian food available in town. That takes us to the Phase 2A, the housing portion of Phase 2. We'll go to the next one. Sorry, Phase 2B. So Phase 2B is the major housing component of Phase 2. And 92H, or 92nd and Herald, this project, is the majority of that phase in terms of unit production. It'll produce 171 residential units. It's targeted to be market rate housing and is intended to balance out and create a mixed income neighborhood. And so it's balancing out the large number of affordable units that were constructed early on in the Lentz TIF district. It's also the first of a two-phase development. The second phase of 92nd and Herald would bring an additional 48 new units. That project is still in very early stages of design. They've actually applied for the mass timber feasibility study with PHB, and if mass timber works for the project, they would actually deliver more units than that 48 original estimate. Okay, next one.
Okay, thank you. So I'll talk a little bit about the loan terms that we are proposing. As mentioned, the total loan amount is $10,800,000. It's a loan that would have a 20-year term with an interest rate of 4%. It will have a feature where there'll be interest-only payments for the first 7 years. We are building in an interest reserve, which is where those payments will come from. But after that interest-only period ends, when principal and interest payments actually start, they will be cash flow dependent, and it'll be an annual payment. And so that will require some collaboration between the Prosper Portland lending team and the developer as we take a look at the financials and walk through those together so that we can see what payment will be due. If for some reason the cash flow is not adequate, that payment that would have been earned, but that wasn't because the cash flow was insufficient, will then be capitalized to the loan balance. And then that would be due at maturity, whatever those amounts were. There are a few things that we are requesting from them as conditions to close. For example, the senior construction lender will have to give us their final term sheet so that we can review that to make sure that the terms are consistent with what we have heard so far. We'll be developing an intercreditor agreement with that lender as well. And then they will also have to execute that ground lease with us that we mentioned at the beginning. And then we'll also want to confirm that the project does qualify for that 10-year tax abatement. We'll also, well, I guess I'll get to that. We also require them to adhere to our policies as far as green building and workforce and business equity. Here's a screen that shows a little bit about the project. As you can see, it's just under $55 million. Most of the construction financing is coming from between Prosper and then the primary lender who's providing about $27.5 million. But that's the total cost of the project. And as I mentioned, our business workforce equity policies will apply, as will the green building policy. And the City of Portland inclusionary housing policy will also apply to the site. And so we would ask that you would approve Resolution 7637 to approve this property loan for Palindrome 92H, the amount of $10,800,000.
Thank you for the presentation.
I do have one question.
Comments? Yes.
So it's all going to be market housing, so no affordable housing or?
There will be 9 units of affordable housing. They are filing for an exemption, or not an exemption, but there's a.
I can speak to this. Yeah, I was just digging into the details. So they are providing 9 units of deed restricted affordable housing per the inclusionary housing requirement. They're doing what's called, oh shoot, the term just escaped me, reconfiguration, which allows them to take the total number of units required on the assumption that they would be one-bedroom units and combine them into single multi-bedroom units. So instead of providing the 15% as a number of just one-bedroom units, they are providing 4 two-bedroom units and 4 three-bedroom units, and just a single one-bedroom unit at the affordable housing threshold.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Could you speak a little bit to the community outreach element of this? And I think this was floated some time ago, correct? And what's the feedback now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this project, I think, had its initial community outreach before I joined Prosper. The project was negotiated right before COVID, and so went on pause for a short time as the market was adjusting, and then sort of post-COVID, the developer has been focused on recapitalizing the project, making sure that there's a bank that's willing to finance the project. And during that time, we haven't done additional community outreach, but the initial community outreach occurred quite a few years ago. We have received some feedback. I believe we received a letter from one of our affordable housing developer partners, Nick Savi of Rose CDC, provided a letter with some concerns about just sort of the overall lack of affordable housing and some of the terms of the deal, largely consistent with the kinds of terms that Rose CDC has received for their projects in Lentz.
Oh, so that is the case. These terms are not dissimilar from what Rose has received in the past. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I was not super excited about the terms of this deal, as you know from our briefing session. Okay, did you have anything?
Well, I guess because since the outreach or engagement or outreach and engagement hasn't been done so that would have been over 6 years ago, so we haven't circled back around to get input from the community since then?
Not from the neighborhood. We received some feedback from the contractors union a few months back when another project was brought forward to you. And in the intervening time, Palindrome actually reached out to the Carpenters Union and has been working very closely with them about how they plan to do hiring for the project and where they've got union agreements in place for the development of this project. Additionally, this particular project happens to trigger BOLI, and so prevailing wages will be required. So a lot of the engagement has been around the industry rather than around the community and the neighborhood.
Yes.
There's also a gentleman, Mr. Robert, could speak to the land use and the notification that goes to the neighborhood for deeper community involvement, if you like.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Robert Gibson, President of Palindrome Properties Group. Your neighbor just a couple blocks away. We are in Old Town at 5th and Gleason, happy to be here today to discuss this project. Um, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Director Wesley, as it relates to outreach, I can maybe go back and give that history because I was the one that did the early outreach before Brian's time. It was with Allison Wicks, who was a staff member here at Prosper. That was during 2019 was the conclusion of the outreach. It included culturally specific neighborhood groups that we met with. I think it was a total of 12 separate meetings. Some of those were at-large meetings, as well as these culturally specific meetings from members of the community. Out of that outcome, there was overwhelming support to do market rate housing that complied with inclusionary housing. And one of the goals and requested outcomes was to provide larger units for the affordable housing units, which is why we did the 9 units with larger bedrooms to address that need. Even though we could have provided more total units, our requirement was to do 10% of the units as at 60% of median income. Rather than do that, we did the unit reconfiguration to provide the large units the community wanted. Additionally, out of that meeting, there was a desire to have public space, which we completed successfully by creating an indoor space for the Lents International Farmers Market, as well as some private space. We have a community room that's for rent for weddings and family celebrations. It's called the Zenith Room. It's on the upper level of the Zed. More recently, so after we had that pretty robust community engagement that concluded in 2019, we proceeded to design the building. And prior to going to design review, we had 2 neighborhood meetings and invited all the neighborhood associations, and posted in the community to provide feedback on the building, the proposed project, including the unit mix and design and the overall program. It was lightly attended. There were, this comments about it'd be great if all units were affordable, which we couldn't meet that requirement. But overall, there was positive response to the proposed project. From there, we went to the Portland Design Commission for approval. It should be noted that we received an award for exemplary project in 2024. It was like one of the best projects that they had seen that year for completeness and responsiveness to the requirements and concerns of the community. So I think we did have that most recent outreach. So I think in total, we probably had 14 or 16 outreach meetings over the last 5 years.
But nothing recently? But
Sorry?
nothing recent in the last
Not
5,
since
6 years?
2023. So 36 months or 2 years.
Well, for me, I find it bothersome if we're building this big thing and we haven't had a steady communication with a community that has been through a lot over the years, and it can be a hard community. But to not continually have that communication is bothersome to me, and it seems like it was just a one and done. I just feel like more could be done, and I'd like to hear more from the community if possible.
Commissioner Higgins, I believe, is on the line and had her hand raised at one point. Are you there? Lisa?
I'm here, yeah. I switched, I'm switching computers and phones, and eventually one of these internets will work. I think I may have missed this in the beginning because I joined a little bit late, but I feel like given the terms of the loan, can you just talk a little bit about our previous experience with Palindrome and the history of other projects that we may have completed together?
Certainly. Yeah, I brought up on the slide. So we worked with Palindrome on Oliver Station East and West. Those 2 projects were early projects in the Lents Town Center. We also have sold them a number of properties that have facilitated additional redevelopment in the Lentz Town Center neighborhood. The bakery blocks, which are adjacent to the Zogel House Brewing that you see on this map, as well as the AIP property, which, if I can get the cursor to come up, is right in this location on Foster, adjacent to the southbound off-ramp for 205. So that we've sold those two properties. In addition to the properties that we've sold to Palindrome and, of course, Oliver Station, there are a number of projects that Palindrome has pursued on their own without support from Prosper Portland. And so Palindrome has, I think, been the single largest private investor in the Lentz TIF district, and certainly in the Lentz Town Center since its inception.
Further questions or comments?
Thank you. I feel so. I just I need to use my words. Sorry. So I just want to say that I appreciate the sort of previous work and the outlines of this. I think the terms are very favorable, and it makes me a little bit worried about the repayment of this. But I do feel like if the staff feel comfortable moving forward with the terms, and I think that given the history that we have around the development in the Lentz Town Center, working with Palindrome, I feel a little bit more confident moving forward. And I do want to say I actually appreciate the move on the number of affordable units, actually moving those to larger units, because I think that it's actually a big challenge in the city around having affordable units that are almost entirely one bedroom.
Recording
and don't
stopped.
Fit families. So I appreciate it, and I'm appreciate the project and ready to be supportive.
Hey, Tavo, I was just going to, sorry, Chair Cruz, I was just going to join Lisa Abwaf with Prosper Portland. I wanted to reflect on, we had a very similar conversation. Director Wesley actually asked us a very similar conversation when we first brought this out of the investment committee about kind of the concentration of our partnership with Palindrome. And one of the things I shared is when we get out into East Portland, we do not have kind of a deep bench of developers who are committed to developing and co-investing at the scale that we've seen in partnership with Palindrome, or quite honestly, at the density and kind of the commitment to build in town centers at this density. It's not where the market is. It is one of the things that drives kind of the need for this structure of investment, is because they're actually building a rather significant number of units, which is great because if you look at the location, it's right next to the transit center. So it's accomplishing that. But I did just think it's important to reflect on when we went out with the original solicitation, we got multiple kind of proposals, but in fact, we ended up owning and developing Lentz Commons because one of the development partners backed out. And in fact, and Robert can speak to this more, they've actually purchased other properties outside of Prosper's properties to consolidate and really kind of build a town center that has retail and mixed use. Because as Robert mentioned, kind of a few of the things that we heard during that engagement process, because I will age myself and having gone through that process with him as well, what we heard was a really kind of, you have a community that's divided about whether or not additional affordable housing is needed or market rate to balance out the fact that we built the first phase was 60%, I think more than 60% regulated affordable, which is folks also want to make sure that there's not a concentration of affordable housing happening, but also the desire for mixed use. So kind of our first move actually with Palindrome really was about preserving the commercial space, making sure that the Lentz International Farmers Market had a permanent location in the Tool Library so that that really creates the hub for the community to get to gather around. And then this was intended to be housing. And it was a pretty extensive conversation. I can appreciate communities definitely changed going through COVID. So I do think it's an important flag to make sure that we continue to talk with community, but folks, right now it's kind of an open field, and I think folks are excited to have additional residents in that area.
Yes, please.
You have permission to add some comments to the discussion. I had some, we've been in Lents since 2015, and we're there almost every day. We're there certainly 3 times a week, every weekend. We consider Lents, even though we don't live there, that's our community. I'm going to highlight some of the things that we've done because we don't advertise very well through websites and LinkedIn and promotions of all the things that we accomplish. But when we talk about this project to other communities around the state or even around the West Coast, this project is highlighted as an example of the way that you can transform a community over a decade. And so some of the things that we did, starting with the Zed, we have a brewery that provides jobs, and we brew beer that's sold from California to the Canadian border. So Lents is now, that product is distributed all over the Northwest. We also have the event space where people get married. We were able to attract a makerspace user into the old paint space that was in the bakery blocks. It's Hugh Woodworking, so he provides fine woodworking workshops for community members. We have 9 small businesses that are in the food hall that are all emerging small businesses. At Oliver Station, and we have a mix of housing. We have 126 affordable units and 19 market rate. But more importantly, we've activated the ground space with Planet Fitness, Western University Health, Bella's Bakery, which is one of the best bakeries, in my opinion, in Portland. And that was part of a commercial affordability program that we partnered with Prosper on, and that's been very successful for her in that business. Atlas Dental is also at Oliver Station. On our own, we purchased a property called 9201 Foster. Used to be an event space that was mostly vacant and was underutilized. We opened our own business called Humdinger Pizza through COVID, kept it open. Shifters is a boutique or a craft cocktail lounge. And then upstairs, what's really cool is we created a business called Upper 10, which has 10 micro offices for small Lents community members that are just starting out in their business. So we have very approachable and accessible commercial space for community members. And then after that, we acquired what's now called the Buckley. That building was kind of an underutilized building. We revitalized it and created 47 apartment units, which included inclusionary housing. I'm proud to announce that we signed a lease yesterday with a user for the ground floor. It's called Sheer Gods. It's a kind of a day spa hair salon. And that's a woman-owned business, and it's her first business, so we were able to activate that space. We also have a live-work unit that has one of Portland's well-known leather bag, like pretty fancy bags. I was surprised that they're like $700. I've never bought a bag, but that surprised me. She opened her boutique there in Lents on 92nd. So yeah, we have a lot of interest in Lents. I would say that we live and breathe Lents every day. Not one day goes by in our office where we don't talk about Lents and how to move the mission forward. Our mission statement is creating places for people to experience happiness, and we think about ways to create happiness and moments of joy for the people that live in Lents every day. So we're really excited about finally getting to the next, bring more people to Lents and with this project.
Thank you. That's very helpful to know. Back to the terms, because that's what has troubled me a little bit, because they're pretty generous terms. Is it fair to say that this deal would not happen without these generous terms? I didn't underwrite this deal. We're not the underwriters. Staff does, and we trust them and respect their judgments. But that would help to know, because we kind of have 2 hats here. We, as a board, are looking to promote economic development around the city and do things that spur activity in different corners of the city that have been underutilized and underserved. At the same time, we're fiduciaries for public funds. So we have to be thoughtful about, do deals make sense? And are they, this one is not market. So how would you characterize this in terms of, would this deal get done without these terms? Or are we, where are we?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely not. It wouldn't get done because we tried for about 18 months to figure out a way to get it done. As everyone may know, the banking industry, especially community banks that make loans of this mid-size, 27 million seems big to me, but it's still considered to be a mid-size loan for a commercial bank. I think we talked to, it was probably more than 50 banks trying to find someone to invest in Southeast Portland. For a long time, there was just a stigma against Portland. That hasn't quite healed for outsiders. So we had a really tough time finding a lender. The lender we're working with probably is only interested because they also did the loan on the Buckley, and we successfully paid them off with a new local bank. So we have a track record with that bank. Without Prosper support, we wouldn't have a project. And it's interesting because they think it's not generous enough. They're constantly pushing me to see if there's a way for us to get a lower interest rate or a longer term, or so this is actually what we're seeing today is kind of a compromise position where I was able to convince the bank that this was a deal that made sense for everyone. We're putting in over $11 million of cash equity, plus it's a recourse loan to us. As you can tell, we're not just casual investors and business owners in Lentz. This is our life. And that's why our time horizon for this is 20 or 30 years for our business. But it wouldn't happen without the support of Prosper Portland and our partners that we value and we've enjoyed working with over the last decade.
Great, thank you. All right, you have any further questions, comments?
I think just one thought on the community engagement, just seeing how it's come up. I think, it might be helpful to, as part of this effort, to re-engage with the community and just, get some maybe like more proper formal feedback. I think might be helpful for folks to hear back from, just given that it's come up and we spent a little bit of time talking about it today. And just, it sounds like you're already there, so it's really more maybe a formalization of some of the efforts that you're already doing and just kind of reporting back might be helpful.
I can respond to that, thank you. As one of the conditions of the development agreement, in addition to developing the plan as we proposed, there is a requirement to engage with the community on a marketing plan. One of the concerns during the outreach was that we're building this housing for others, people who are gonna come in from outside of the Lentz community. So one of the commitments that we made to the community, and it's in the development agreement, that we will do an outreach and marketing agreement as the project proceeds through construction to make sure that the people that live in Lentz know about the project and have access to rent those units.
That would be great. It'd be great to see that circled back this way. Thank you.
So you say you have all these businesses in the Lentz area. Are you also hiring from that community as well, from the Lentz community?
We are. I mean, a lot of the businesses that I describe are other businesses, that are our tenants. I think our employees are probably less than 20 actual employees that are directly employed by us. So a lot of those jobs are through other tenants that are occupying our buildings. But yeah, we do have people that walk to work.
Okay, all right then. If there's no more comments, would somebody like to make a motion to approve? Yes. I'm sorry? Oh, hello there. Hands up. Commissioner Higgins?
Sorry, my thing is not unmuting. I'm happy to make a motion to approve this agenda item. I was going to say something else, but I think it's fine.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. No further comments. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Aye.
Yes. Is there something further? Okay. Okay, I think we do have unanimous. But thank you. Thanks very much for coming today, and thanks for the information. Oh, great, thanks. Okay, next up, we have item number 8. And this is an action item, approving the Cully Action Plan. So welcome. Brian is staying with us, and Catherine Hardinger joins. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chair Cruz. Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley. Right. We are here to request approval and recommendation of the Cully TIF Action Plan for City Council approval. We're going to cover a little bit of background about the work that we've done in the Cully TIF District to assemble this action plan. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Cully Leadership, the Community Leadership Committee. And of course, we'll dig into the action plan highlights, or the highlights of the action plan itself. And I'm going to turn it over to Catherine to speak to the action plan.
Thank you, Brian. Working? Okay. So it's been a minute since we've been here to talk about Cully, so just wanted to kind of reorient folks a little bit to where we're talking about. And so on the right, you'll see a map of the Cully TIF District. It runs roughly from 42nd Avenue to 82nd Avenue, kind of west to east. It's about 1,600 acres. And I would be remiss if I didn't kind of acknowledge the many, many partners we've had along the way, both through the kind of development of the district plan itself, as well as this action plan. So the grouping at the top there is the original kind of Living Cully Coalition members with Verde, NEA, Hacienda, and Habitat for Humanity. We had a community liaison, support staff person who was housed at Verde throughout this action planning work, who really helped support the committee as well as kind of lead some of the public engagement around the work. And just to note, the coalition recently disbanded at the end of 2025 after 15 years together. And so just wanted to note that, but we have great relationships with all of them and intend to continue working with each of them individually. Below them, we have the Cully NPN partners who've also been amazing throughout this entire, well, at least the past 6 years of work in this district. And also want to acknowledge the Cully Association of Neighbors. They always make space for us on agendas. They keep asking us to come back. And so they've been really instrumental in pushing information out for us. And then there's also just a number of community members who are not affiliated with any of those groups who have literally been involved for the last 6 years. And so just want to thank all of those folks. As a reminder, the action plan needs to be in kind of alignment with the goals of the district plan, and so just wanted to touch on those. The big one is preventing displacement. That is kind of the overarching goal of this work. So you'll see some items here around preventing displacement, preserving existing opportunities for both affordable housing and economic prosperity, ensuring that current residents benefit from investments and that we're not just attracting new folks and not supporting folks who are there now. Ensuring that those most affected will play lead roles, developing and inspiring a new model for TIF. And I think this has been really critical through this work as we've come forward with the East Portland TIF districts. And I think there's a lot of eyes on Cully, and everyone in Cully knows it. And so there's been some communication there, and it's been a really interesting opportunity for me personally to work in both areas. Actively working to remove access barriers and looking for opportunities to spur innovation on environment and climate change. So a little bit about the Community Leadership Committee. I think we were last before the board for nominations to put this body together, and that was in 2023, so it's been a little bit. The purpose of this body is to advise decision makers around different types of decisions, providing guidance, recommendations, and oversight of our implementation of the TIF district plan. In terms of membership, everybody needs to be connected to Cully. So they either have to live, work, worship, have children enrolled, or have been previously displaced from the area. It's a 13-member body, and half of the folks were nominated by this board back in 2023. Half came through the city administrator's office, and the full body was approved by council. So tiny writing, but a little bit of like who is on the committee. So the Prosper nominated seats are at the top, the city administrator ones are on the bottom. You'll notice there's some terms that have expired, and so as we bring this plan forward to council, there's a parallel kind of appointment and reappointment process. And I want to just call attention to Ginger Rogers on this list, as well as Jorge Sanchez Bautista. They were the co-chairs of this body, and you will hear from both of them later. Okay, so throughout this process, the CLC was kept informed of kind of what the discussion was in the community. And so before I go into kind of engagement work specifically around the action plan, I just want to highlight that the district plan itself took 4 years, and there were 2 years of engagement connected with that. And so we were really building upon that rather than kind of reinventing the wheel. So just want to start there. There were a bunch of things that happened. So we had the NPNs partnering with us to provide tours for our CLC members so they could really kind of learn more about the NPN work and how those TIF dollars were used, and also get to have some conversations with small business owners directly. As I mentioned earlier, we partnered with the community liaison from the Living Cully Coalition. We posted flyers for meetings to try and drive folks to those CLC meetings, which were monthly, to come provide testimony and just learn more about the project. We presented at numerous community meetings and tabled at kind of Cully-based events in partnership with a number of folks. We hosted a Cully TIF exhibit as part of the 2026 Cully Fest Connections Plaza, and that's what you'll see in that bottom right photo. And it's funny, as I was putting this slide together, just looking at that photo reminds me of the sunburn that I got that day. And lastly, our partner implemented an online survey once there was a draft action plan out for folks to provide feedback on. As part of our standing monthly meetings, the liaison kind of provided updates every month on kind of what they were hearing in community. General themes coming out of that work: support for small businesses, not a surprise. Need for inclusion of funds to support neighbors in manufactured home parks in Cully. Support for additional funds for land acquisition to support more long-term strategies for permanent affordability, and a desire for more publicly accessible gathering spaces. So this work to get to the point today took roughly 2 years. The committee was appointed at the end of 2023, and we began meeting in February of 24. That first year, it's a brand new committee, right? And so there was a lot of work around bylaws, kind of ground rules, education about TIF, relationship building, and learning more about both the Prosper Portland programs as well as the Portland Housing Bureau programs. At the beginning of January 25, we really kind of dug in earnest to the action planning work itself, discussing public engagement that was really going to happen in parallel to the work we were doing in the committee. And some community context around what other investments were happening in the community and what was going on that we should be aware of before we start these conversations. Spring into summer, we dove into those kind of priorities and investment allocation dollar conversations, and we released a first draft in September. October, November, we pushed public engagement pretty hard. We made a bunch of revisions to the draft, released a second version in December of 25, and then came back together this January, made some final revisions as a committee, and there was a vote to approve it, which is why we're here today. So a few highlights, just a reminder of kind of the relationship of the action plan to the district plan. And so the district plan is the 30-year plan. In Cully, there's a maximum indebtedness of $350 million. So that plan really talks about, an allocation to economic and urban development, an allocation to affordable housing, et cetera. When we get to the action plan, we're looking at 5 years. We're looking at roughly $31 million. And we're starting to allocate those dollars to specific programs. So a few things I just want to highlight that were discussed a lot with the committee. So one was this around the priority communities language. And so one of the things that the community was really excited about coming out of the district plan was that it included a definition of priority communities and who was really intended to benefit from the investments. In light of the current political climate, there was a desire for us to clarify and make absolutely clear that we were not making investments that were in violation of civil rights and non-discrimination laws, that we were not making decisions based on protected class. This is a hard conversation to have with the community. And so I think we came with some different alternatives, some of which just removed the protected class language from the definition. And not surprisingly, this was met with a lot of heartache and heartbreak. People felt that they were being erased. And so after a number of meetings and a number of discussions on this is where we landed, which I think really strikes a balance, a very intentional balance of making clear our intent, which you see the new language in blue, but also acknowledging the history and the very real lived experiences of folks in the Cully District. Okay, so the 5-year forecast. One thing you may notice here is that the 5-year forecast shows 6 years. So just want to speak to that for a moment, which is, as we were doing this work, and it did take us a little bit longer to get here than I think we had initially thought. And so we were realizing that we were going to be pretty close to the end of fiscal year 25-26 by the time we got through the legislative process. And we actually wanted a 5-year plan, not a 4-year plan. So we added another year and it'll all kind of roll up. So that's one important piece. Another is just noticing, we're not getting similar dollar amounts year on year. There's bonding, there's other issues. So the amount of money that comes in every year fluctuates. And then the last piece I think here that's important is in the district plan. There was a decision in terms of those initial allocations of 45% to go to economic development, 45% for affordable housing, and 10% that was, we called it either flexible or discretionary, that the CLC could direct one way or the other based on the action plan and kind of what the current needs of the community were. So where we landed on affordable housing priorities, and my colleague Leslie Goodlow is here if there are specific questions on any of these. But $4 million to support creation of first-time homebuyers, another $4 million to support retention of existing homeowners, $2 million to support mobile home park residents. And PHB does not currently have a program that supports those neighbors, and so that is one of the asks in the plan, is for them to develop a program and then implement it. And then the last one is around land acquisition for future affordable housing developments. There's $4 million there, and $2 million of that is to be used for the purchase of land for permanently affordable homeownership opportunities as opposed to rental. For economic and urban development priorities, we have just shy of $6 million for small business supports, just shy of $7 million for supporting commercial property ownership, and we have $1.5 million for nonprofits. This is the Community Livability Grant for kind of supporting cultural and community assets. Just as a reminder, these are kind of our 5-year targets. And so you will see kind of the annual budgets come through year on year, and if we find that we are starting to drift away from these targets, we will be back to speak with you. And then the last piece is that 10% flexible piece that I mentioned. And I think there were a lot of discussions. We actually had little subcommittee groups to talk about what did we want to do with this. And so there were discussions about, and arguments for putting it to affordable housing or putting it toward economic development. And the committee really chose door number 3, which was, let's put it toward land acquisition for kind of a future mixed-use collaborative project between Prosper Portland and the Portland Housing Bureau. The district plan speaks a lot about the desire for additional mixed-use development in the district, so this aligns wonderfully with that, and it's exciting. So our next steps, assuming that the plan, if the plan is approved today, we will be going to the Arts and Economy Committee and City Council in February and March. And in terms of next steps with the actual committee, we're going to be revisiting and updating our bylaws. There were some oversights, one of the important ones being that our co-chairs do not have terms. So they don't want to stay there forever, so we need to go fix that. Identifying district-specific priorities for Prosper Portland grants, debriefing kind of the action plan process, and working with the committee to participate in kind of the inaugural Community Livability Grant application selection process. That is the end of our presentation. We do have some invited testimony. Our 2 wonderful co-chairs. I'm not sure, is Ginger here yet? We have 1 co-chair and 1 on the way. Do you want to?
Thank you.
typically at city council is already on, so I don't have to deal with it. But yeah, good afternoon, Chair Cruz, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Jorge Sanchez Bautista. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Cully Tax Increment Community Leadership Committee, or CLC. My other partner should be coming in soon. She's going over the river, so if you see her coming in and saying, I'm here, that's her. But as Catherine stated, we are the first two co-chairs, and we do not want to stay in this position any longer. Chair Cruz, you probably know how it is being a presiding officer. The position is a bit much. So I wanted to touch on that as a little funny joke. But yeah, thank you, Leslie and Brian, for presenting the action plan to the board. So it gives me, a great privilege to introduce the first 5-year action plan. At the January 7 COC meeting, after nearly 2 years of work, as Catherine stated, committee members voted unanimously for the action plan to be sent to the board and to city council for approval. Our TIF district has been made and was made by, for and by Cully community leaders, business owners, and residents who saw a need to reinvest public dollars back into the community, back into the neighborhood. And the community-led effort began, just a little touch on the little history a bit. It began in 2018, which led to the adoption of the district plan in 2022, and to this historic vote in early January. I'm trying to check if that's her. So that way she joins me and I'm not solo on this. You get me, Commissioner. But I'll keep going. Through the whole process, the work has focused on and for the Cully community. Our CLC is unique, as some of you may know. We represent a wide variety of voices, business owners, residents, a young person such as myself, including many who haven't served on an advisory body. We have one member named Bea, who is a non-English speaker, and she is the first, from what we know, across the city to serve on a city body who doesn't speak English. And so I want to highlight her. And also, we're the first city's joint body with Prosper Portland and the Portland Housing Bureau. And so we're setting an example for the other bodies across the east and southeast that are, starting the process. We have leaned into the principles of co-creation, importantly in order to reflect our community's values. And we relied on a consensus -2 sort of decision-making process, not just a simple majority. And it was really for us to just build actual consensus to make sure that we're not just, bring something forward and then simply just go with the simple majority, excuse those voices that are left out, just looking at our own cultural and history that we've seen throughout history where we actually want to work through things. And so that is why we saw a very lengthy process of 2 years. So it was truly consensus. And yeah, so it was hard for us, hard to win. And we navigated a relationship through ruptures and hard discussions about who in our community should benefit from the limited resources. Conflicts led to resolutions, and that messiness was an integral piece to our process to ensure unity around the recommendations in the action plan. So after almost 2 years, we came to a decision with the forecast of the $31.1 million over the next 5 years, and ultimately came to this conclusion. So some of the highlights I want to touch on that Catherine here has touched on already is, one is on the balance of the short-term needs versus the long-term needs. The TIF district directs us to think not just of the present needs, but of the needs of the future generation, such as myself. Throughout the process, we had a lot of just interaction about the short-term goals, the immediate needs, and some of that you saw in the flexible 10% and in the general land acquisition to build properties for the future. The second thing, which I really want to highlight, which was a big conversation, a simple thing that we brought up immediately right after we kind of started, was support for manufactured home park residents. At multiple COC meetings, we compiled testimony. We talked to some trying to find the word, property owners, to bring in residents to tell us what are some of the barriers, what can we do that's legally allowed under ORS and TIF
TIF laws to use this money to support them. And we're glad that we recommended that PHP create a plan. Ultimately, it wouldn't, from memory serves, year 2, year 3 of the current action plan is when we can start seeing that hopefully implemented. So the action plan directs PHP to develop that and allocate $2 million for repairs and other support. So that is one big, huge accomplishment that we're hoping that it doesn't just is used and ends in Cully, but throughout the city as an example. Another is small business support. Throughout community tours, we heard from small business owners, learned about how Cully's Neighborhood Prosperity Network, NPN, staff has supported and built relationships on Northeast 42nd and Cully Boulevard. I want to highlight, I'm forgetting his name right now, Eddie Martinez, who is that's my guy, I'll tell that right now. He works hard every day, every night, every morning, making sure that the community and business owners have all the resources that they need. Even though, it's not his job to do most of the responsibilities, he's doing it, So I want to highlight him for a second. The draft allocates funds to a new micro grant program to be administered by the NPN for projects up to $20,000. And larger projects may apply for the resources through Prosper Portland, either through the Prosperity Investment Program, PIP, PIP, in other words, or the Small Business Loan Program. And as Catherine touched on, the priority communities language was a very big conversation. And at the time when I was co-chairing those meetings, I could tell you it was a very complicated position to be in, trying to maintain the tension between CLC members and the staff, hearing from both perspectives of folks that want this to continue their culture and their history, while at the same time not seeing a lawsuit. And we eventually ended up with keeping the language with, nevertheless, we will be serving anyone that comes to us. And so we came to a large consensus on that. We're glad that we're recognizing history, but also continuing what we had wished for. And lastly, the land acquisition for future development. At first, we did not touch on land acquisition as much. Our priorities very differed. But at the end, after we got a presentation from some of our community partners, Habitat for Humanity, Proud Ground, Verde, NEA, they had requested from us to invest a little bit more or just general amount into land acquisition for now and for the future. So that brought us back coming back into a conversation to set an actual amount on that. So we're proud that we're having something for future development. And lastly, just to end, I want to thank Prosper Portland and PHP, the staff, for all the logistics, childcare, and just the general information. We've bugged them a lot about a bunch of matters, but I believe, it's important to, it's the first time. We want to make sure we're getting at least some of it right. And throughout the, 5 years, we'll be making amendments likely, as it's, it's a matter that you'll always do in some way. So I want to thank them for that. And lastly, thank you for your consideration for the recommendation, and happy to answer any specific questions that you may have.
I just want to say thank you for a young person to do that and to co-chair. That's a big undertaking, and I'm sure it was a lot, especially with the shifting of the language, so I applaud you for that. And also say thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well deserved.
Thanks.
Commissioner Higgins, do you have any comments?
No, thank you. I just really appreciate the presentation and the community engagement.
I'll just make one note as a former Cully adjacent neighbor. I used to live on 41st and Holman for about a decade. It is really great to see all the efforts happening in my old hood. So thank you.
Yeah, likewise, this has been in the works for a long time now. And so I'm really gratified to see it come together and appreciate all the hard work. And it's a great action plan, great story. So thank you.
Thank you,
very
Chair.
much. Yeah. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve the Cully Action Plan?
I'll make a motion to approve the Cully Action Plan and Resolution 7638.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great, thank you. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very
Really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay. All right, so before we adjourn, we have one more item, a
For
very
Lisa.
special item, a walk-on item, which is a special resolution to recognize someone. Here it is. Here it is. So this is a special resolution we're going to consider now to commend and appreciate Lisa Aboif for her distinguished service and outstanding dedication to prosper Portland, the city of Portland. So I will go ahead and read the resolution, and then if somebody can make a motion and a second, then we'll have discussion, and then we'll finalize things. So we'll start with the resolution itself. This is resolution number 7639, resolution for commendation and appreciation of Lisa Aboif for distinguished service and outstanding dedication to prosper Portland, the city of Portland. Whereas Lisa Aboif joined the staff of Prosper Portland in 2004 and was appointed as Director of Development and Investment in 2019. Whereas Lisa Aboif has served at Prosper Portland for more than 21 years and has announced plans to take a position with the Port of Portland. Whereas Lisa Aboif has served as a project manager, director, interim deputy director, and interim executive director. Whereas Lisa Aboif helped lead the implementation of Advance Portland, a call to action for inclusive economic growth and development-related initiatives, including launching a new generation of tax increment finance districts, in support of East Portland and the Central City. And whereas Lisa Aboif led redevelopment efforts across the city, including work in the Broadway Corridor, Williams and Russell, Central East Side, Gateway, Lentz Town Center, Old Town, South Park Blocks, and South Waterfront. And whereas Lisa Aboif led Prosper Portland's investment initiatives, the implementation of the agency's financial sustainability plan, and deployment of strategic investment fund resources. And whereas Lisa Aboif ensured that equity and inclusion were at the forefront of Prosper Portland's work, both internally and externally, and always ensured that staff consider who benefits from agency investments, policies, and programs. Whereas in a time of critical transition for the agency, Lisa Aboif led with compassion, practicality, and resilience, serving as both interim deputy director and interim executive director, providing a steady hand during the hiring of a new executive director and maintaining the agency's mission and work. Whereas Lisa Aboif is highly regarded by both her colleagues and by public, private, and nonprofit partners for her passion, hard work, and commitment to collaboration. Whereas Lisa Aboif has diligently and forthrightly carried out her civic duties on behalf of Prosper Portland and in the best interest of the city, and has ably represented Portland throughout the state, across the nation, and internationally. And whereas Lisa Aboif's positive impact on Portland will be felt and seen throughout the city for decades to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Prosper Portland individually and collectively commends Lisa Aboif for her service to Prosper Portland and to the constituency of the city of Portland that Prosper Portland represents, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon its adoption. So, very impressive. And we're very impressed with Lisa. We have speakers, and we'll start with Shabri Vickers. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, and Executive Director Wesley. I'm going to start, and I also have some special guests with me. And I'm actually going to ask Lisa to join us up here at the dais. So I'm actually going to ask our special guest, who I believe has joined us on the Zoom virtually, to begin. Special guest?
I think that's me.
That is you,
Shabri, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Kimberly.
Chair Cruz and Commissioners, thank you so much to for the opportunity to speak and express appreciation for Lisa's incredible experience at Prosper Portland, incredible service at Prosper Portland. I'm Kimberly Branham, and I'm joining you as Lisa's former colleague at Prosper Portland. The first time I met Lisa was about 17 years ago. Ava, I think she was pregnant with you, and she was briefing me on the Oregon Sustainability Center. She was walking through the plan, the financing structures, environmental systems, and she was moving at a speed that I can only describe as Lisa speed. So I understood about 1 out of every 3 words. And finally, I had to ask her and say, Lisa, I'm going to need the non-genius version of this. And so she very kindly slowed down for about 5 minutes, and then she was back up when her brain kicked into gear. But what I didn't know at that moment when I first met her, and then learned over the intervening 15 or so years that we worked side by side, is that Lisa really does operate at a different velocity than the rest of us. Or at least that's the only explanation that I've come up with to explain how one person can be at the heart of so many impactful, challenging, really, really important, complex urban development efforts, while being the colleague who plans the retirement party, who puts together the shower, raising an incredible daughter, and is an incredible daughter and sister herself. As we just heard, Lisa's fingerprints are all over the city. I don't need to go into great detail, but we all know that from infrastructure investment and the PSU development agreement and South Waterfronts to the ODOT blocks and the OMSI partnership agreement to the buildings in Lentstown Center and all of her work on Broadway Corridor and with Williams and Russell and in Cully, she's been at the center of not only the hardest and the thorniest negotiations, but she's also been engaged in rebuilding trust and advancing long desired community priorities. She guided the generation of TIF districts that's going to be impactful for decades to come, the 2015 package of major amendments, and helped stand up the repair and restore grants during the uncertainty of the pandemic. But what makes Lisa so effective is how she's done it. Lisa doesn't just say, great, figure it out. That's a problem, go for it. She says, let's figure it out together. And then she generally creates a very complex diagram so that you can follow along as you figure it out together. As you figure it out together, that's the approach. She builds teams with intention and belief in people's potential. And in a field of real estate development where people of color and women don't often have a seat at the table, she's not only been at the table, but created a broader table and more seats for more diverse voices to participate. She's built an incredible network of relationships across the city. She knows everybody at the city, and she has the ability to make the phone call that will make the difference as you're about to go to a table that would otherwise be a much more challenging negotiation. Throughout all of it, the pressure and the politics and the complexity, she brings grace and humor and integrity and her unmistakable laugh that has diffused many tense meetings and moments. Of course, we all know that beyond the titles and achievement, that Lisa's greatest pride is Ava, who we've watched grow up before us, and who in her own way is just incredible. And watching her be both a visionary leader and a deeply present mom has been an inspiration for me personally as a parent. So, Lisa, your impact on the agency and the city will quite literally stand in steel and concrete and wood and parks and housing and office space for decades. But your impact on the people who had the privilege to work with you is perhaps even more long-lasting. So thank you for your brilliance and your partnership, your leadership, and your commitment to the city that we all love. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Kimberly Branham, our former executive director. And now I'd like to defer to our current executive director, Director Wesley.
You know I'm gonna give you that look. So we're gonna hear a lot more about Lisa's time with the agency, but I wanna take just a moment to share some reflections. Ava, first of all, thank you for sharing your mom with us. She is truly a special person, and I'm certain you already know that. And I'm also certain that over the years, you've heard more about real estate development than you ever wanted to. So thank you, Ava, for patiently listening to phone calls and stories involving capital stacks, vertical development, and records of decision. We appreciate you. From my first phone call with Lisa, long before I even arrived here in Portland, right after I accepted this role, she demonstrated a commitment to supporting me, giving me the unvarnished truth, positioning me for success, and answering all the many questions swirling in my head. To put it another way, Lisa, AKA L Boogie, ever since our first meeting, I have certainly been struck by the breadth and depth of your knowledge, and also by your capability, your authenticity, and your humanity. So thank you for all you've done for Prosper Portland and for our city. We all better having been in your presence. God bless you, God keep you. Thank you, Ava, once again.
And next, as you've heard, we have Ava here. Ava?
Hi. Mine's pretty short, but it's okay. Don't read it. Let me talk. Mom, it has been... interrupted me. Mom, it has been so inspiring to see the sheer amount of hard work and effort you've put into this job. I endlessly admire the standard that you've set for yourself and for others, including myself. And I hope that this new chapter brings you just as much pride and joy as this one. I love you so much. I love you.
Now, Chair Cruz, I have just a few final words, but I think it was extremely important to make sure that we brought those who first worked with Lisa, those who are currently leading Lisa, and those who currently actually lead Lisa all the time. Thank you so much, Ava. As someone who's gotten a chance to work with her, I'm excited just to share a few words as well. So when thinking about Lisa's contributions to Prosper Portland over her 20-plus year career, you quickly realize that the positive impact she has had almost defies measurement. She has played a role in almost all the significant projects in Portland over the past 20 years, from South Waterfront to Cully, Northeast Portland to Lentz, the Pearl to Park Rose, and throughout the Lloyd District and the Central City. Lisa has led, advised, supported, advocated, managed, and argued for infrastructure and park projects, affordable and workforce housing, developments, and all manner of business and real estate development work. Internally, she's represented the union, represented management, served as the interim executive director, planned parties, collaborated on budget and legal issues, and consistently supported and advocated for her colleagues and team members. In all cases, and without exception, she brought a thoughtful passion to her work. Lisa's conduct, professionalism, and commitment are beyond question. Her enthusiasm for all aspects of development, including specific pro forma details, which are not for the faint of heart, is ever present. To consistently do outstanding work is remarkable, and to do outstanding work while ensuring stakeholders feel heard and involved is the definition of public service. Lisa, I recognize that you are not retiring, and you're off to do great work at the port, but when I think about your legacy here, I think of your positive influence on our past work, our present work, and perhaps most importantly, our future work. You have played an integral role in the next generation of our projects and initiatives, and I am so grateful for your dedication and your vision. You have set a very high standard for us to follow. On a personal note, I've appreciated your consistent thought partnership and deep, authentic friendship. I'm proud to have worked alongside you and learned from you, also learned as a parent. And I look forward to working with you, even if it's in different capacities, for many, many years to come. And I just want you to know your entire team appreciates you. I'm going to give Lisa a round of applause. Chair Cruz and Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thank you very much. Just to confirm, do we have any public testimony? Or-
Well, we do not have any
Okay, great.
public testimony.
Thank you. All right, then, would the board members like to comment?
Yes.
Lisa, you are going to be greatly missed. Your institutional knowledge, your amazing detail that you are giving us. And when we ever want to need, just like today, you're always there to provide that history, that foundation, and that is going to be greatly missed, and those shoes will not be able to be filled by anybody. So I just want you to know that I appreciate all that you've done over the last, I think, 5 years that I've been here on the board, your attention to detail, but also how you lead with your heart when you do things. And so thank you. And you can cry, it's okay. Okay.
I just want to echo everyone's sentiments. Just thank you for everything that you've done. We met, goodness, must have been over a decade ago in the Central East Side. I think you were the first person who ever uttered the words tax increment financing to me. I had never heard those words before, and you certainly helped explain them probably a dozen times before it finally clicked. We've contemplated everything from real estate development projects in the Central East Side, more recently to real estate development projects in the Central East Side, and in between where all the electrical connections are on the river, and possibility for baseball one day in Portland. Thank you for all your service and for listening to our crazy ideas and pitches, and yeah, finding a policy-driven and institutional knowledge-driven way to make the impossible possible and find the pathway forward. I think it is an incredibly unique skill, and the agency will certainly miss all that knowledge because it is a literal encyclopedia of how to get things done in the city. So thank you for everything, and good luck on the next chapter.
Thank you. Commissioner Higgins?
Oh,
You there?
hello. Am I off mute?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I just wanted to say that, Lisa, I really have appreciated not just your incredible hard work since my short term on the board, and your creative thinking and your constant push to make the city a better place. And I hope that in your next chapter, you still have time to enjoy the incredible parts of the city that you developed, and including the Lentz area, which is where I live. And I could say that you've done a really good job. It's a beautiful place and a wonderful place to live. And I am going to miss your incredible work. And I think similar to Commissioner Marcelino, it's just your ability to break down very complex development terms and development processes and all of that is I've been incredibly grateful for. And I also just appreciate how I've seen you lead a team with, with attention that lies in redevelopment and development generally, and how incredible you've been at sort of balancing the need for that development as well as the community involvement and engagement. And you've been welcomed to it with open arms. And I think that's just been incredible to watch and see. And I think you're such a unique talent, and I'm sad that you're going, but I also want to appreciate when people have done something for 20 years that it's helpful to try to do something else. One day I'll take a lesson from you. So I'm just so grateful. I'm really grateful. And I think, especially as a new person on the board, there's never been a time where you've made me feel like a question or a concern or a comment is unwarranted or unjustified. And that's also an incredibly unique skill. So I just really appreciate your openness, and I hopefully will see you very soon, and look forward to the next chapter.
Thank you. Well, I'll just, it's hard to top all these comments, but I want to say a few things because now I've known Lisa for a long time, maybe 11 years now. And I just want to say what a pleasure it's been to work with you all that time. I appreciate your expertise so much, your kindness, your generosity to everybody here at the agency and throughout the city. The way that you've shown up in moments of difficulty and crisis. I greatly appreciate that. And as board chair, you were willing to take on some additional responsibility that was extremely important to Prosper, and I'm so grateful to you for all that. Plus, you're just a great person, and I'm really going to miss you a lot. So anyway, we wish you all the best, and I'm sure you'll do a terrific job at the port as well, and we're really going to miss you. And Kimberly, I'm so disappointed you've stolen her from us. But we wish you the best. So, okay. All right. Well, if there are no further comments, I'll go ahead and call for someone to move to approve resolution number 7639, the commendation and appreciation of Lisa Bluff.
I move that we adopt the resolution.
Great, thank you. Do we have a
I
second?
so second.
All right, then. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution
Aye.
passes. Thanks again, Lisa. Yeah, thank you.
So where are we going to the party tonight? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Hey, look at that. A lot of folks have heard me say this before, and I'm gonna kind of know that I'm speaking to you guys as well as, this place is my family, so it's really, I mean, I have my home family, which is so core and critical, but I don't think I could have been in this job for 20 years if it wasn't, the stability the board gives is incredible. Kind of the work of staff is incredible. I have gone through milestones with so many people here. You mentioned kind of, we have grown up as mothers together. I have grown up as a daughter together. I have gone through a divorce together and had people by my side literally helping me move out of my house as I needed to move out of my house together. I have helped other people fix up their house. And so I want to honor the space that when I leave this place, I get to continue to do the work, but the thing I will miss the most is the family and kind of the home that is created, which is really unique. And I often have said, I worked in a lot of different cities and a lot of different places before coming here, and it is the thing that kept me at Prosper for so long. And I am fingers crossed, and I will do everything in my power from a different table to support this agency and the work of staff, because it's just incredible work and it's good people. It's just really good people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again. And again.
Yes. Our meeting is now adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I'll see you at the next one.
Yeah.